Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Candidips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Candid CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BELLYUP20 at candidipcbd.com. Once again, BELLYUP20 at candidipcbd.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Candidips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports. Luckily, I was at a wedding, so I didn't have to watch this Houston Dynamo Inter Miami game because basically the issues that they had defensively. And I did watch the game, guys. I rewatched the game. Obviously, I'm gonna have to, even if I wasn't looking forward to the result. I had to see what all went wrong in that game, and yes, a lot went wrong in that game. Pretty bad performance defensively. Once again, it's gonna be one of those days where everyone's gonna be like, "This is why we need a better goalkeeper," and in reality, like, defensively, this team is just terrible. Like, I don't know what happened from last year or what happened literally since the start of the second half against FC Dallas. This defense went down to pooper because the defense is gifting it to Inter Miami. But that's not what we're talking about. Obviously, the match went down the way it did, but obviously the main talking point is that Messi was not available for this match. They actually decided to not have him travel to Houston for the fact that they had some CONCACAF Champions Cup a match also going on in this week. So obviously the game has already been played by the time this episode drops. But because of that, they decided to rest Messi. So obviously right now the goal is to focus on the Triple C. MLS, while is still a priority, there's still some make-up ground. They can still make up for it. So right now, to focus on Champions Cup is the logical sense for them. Because once again, the objective in MLS is just to make the playoffs. Once you get there, then you can shift to that second gear and make your push for the playoffs. But and as far as the strategy goes, I'm not mad at it. The problem comes in is that obviously a lot of people bought tickets to this Inter Miami game versus Houston game, mainly because obviously they get a chance to see Messi in person. Now, I'm one of those people that it's not a guarantee you're going to see Messi. As someone that bought tickets to go see Inter Miami versus Tigres, not to go see Messi. Well, I mean, yeah, the goal was to potentially watch Messi, but I was there just to watch the game, so I didn't care. I had a good time. I got to watch Tigres, and Tigres is a fun team to watch, especially their goalkeeper, who is once again a dog, but. And then also Marcelo Flores also plays their Arsenal youth product. Didn't pan out too well for him, but still, he's in Tigres. It's a big club. And I mean, along with the other names that you could think of, Gignac and all that also play for Tigres. But I had fun at the Tigres Miami game. I think once they announced that Messi was not going to play in the game, the stadium was very much not full, and so I think that it would have been a lot fuller if Messi was going to be at the game and he didn't. So a lot of people were disappointed, which I think is stupid. You're still going to watch a competitive match. It's still a tournament, Leagues Cup, however you want to take it. It's still a competitive match. And aside from that, you still got to see Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba. So I don't think that, and I mean, all in all, it was Tigres, which, by the way, I was more just happy to see the Tigres crowd because they are a fun fan base. They're very, very passionate, and I love their supporter section. I think they did such a fantastic job being supportive for their club, and obviously, their club did well. So I mean, why wouldn't you be having a blast? And so, but the point was, we bought those tickets, yes, in hopes of seeing Messi, but we know in reality it's never guaranteed. And I mean, in that context. Obviously, Messi was playing for Argentina in the Copa America, and I believe he had an injury in the final. I think it was the final. So he was injured, so he didn't get to finish the game, and obviously you're not going to rush him back onto the field, so you're going to take your time with him to make sure he's not fully in, to get him better, so he can't be back on the field. But and then plus it was Leagues Cup, so I get it. But Oh no, I wasn't disappointed. I mean, yes, people. It's crazy that you spend a crazy amount of money to go see this guy, and then not to get him. I get it, but once again, in this sport, there's no guarantees. People get hurt, injuries happen, or teams that play in multiple tournaments, which once again, Inter Miami, they're in a position where they cannot get embarrassed. They cannot be embarrassed yet again in the MLS Cup playoffs when they got embarrassed by Atlanta United and didn't even make it past the first round of the MLS Cup playoffs when they were the heavy favorites to win the MLS Cup. So when you in that context, obviously they don't want these guys to get hurt or overworked. And yes, the MLS schedule can be very congested, especially when you're playing in multiple tournaments like Inter Miami is. So it's not to me like common sense tells you that there is a probability that they're going to rest Messi, especially when you have not only MLS games but CONCACAF Champions Cup games to focus on. So, and at this point, priority does go to Champions Cup. It's early on in the MLS season where you can still turn things around, get yourself in a playoff position. Well, obviously, you want to get in a playoff position that guarantees you home field advantage, but still, at that point, it's just shifting into gear to that playoff. So just make it be in a playoff position, you're fine. And I think if there's one thing to applaud Mascherano or Inter Miami in general that they're learning is that they understand now that they don't have to go all out in the season. Once again, the season still matters, people. You still have to be in a playoff position. I'm not saying that the season doesn't matter, but Inter Miami is learning their lesson. They said, hey, we don't have to go all out in the MLS season, at least initially. Maybe in that second half, we got to shift into gear and start getting ourselves in a favorable position in the playoff seeding. But right now, we have X amount of tournaments that we got to focus on. Oh, I mean, obviously, I think it's just CONCACAF Champions Cup. Leagues Cup won't be till later on, but still, you get the point. And obviously, they're also going to be in FIBA Club World Cup. Or are they going to be? No, I don't think they're in Leagues Cup this year. But they do have the FIBA Club World Cup coming up as well. But the focus right now is CONCACAF Champions Cup. So it is perfectly fine with me. It is not the end of the world for Messi not even Messi choosing. It was the club deciding that they need to rest their players, which I mean, everyone can understand that concept. This isn't the NBA. Now the NBA is a whole different story, and I'm might get into that a bit just because of this. But like, anyways, so a bunch of fans got really pissy, got mad that Messi wasn't going to be on the field. Like, oh, we bought our tickets to see Messi. We were only going to go there to see Messi, which is heartbreaking as a Dynamo fan because you would want people to go watch the Dynamo and experience the Dynamo. And, obviously, and I get it. It's Messi. I get it. It's not saying I don't, but I do get it. Um, but here's this is where the outpour or the outrage happened as far as the U.S. soccer truthers and blah 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 whatever. Um, the Houston Dynamo ends up announcing that they apologize, that they have no control of what the teams do with their roster, and um, offered a free ticket for a future Dynamo game, and for them to use, for them to use for not being able to have Messi, which I think is cool. I think it's cool that they're doing that. I think and once again, I think people are like, "Oh, this is an unserious league." I get also the outrage as well, but because once again, you can't guarantee players are going to play. That's something that clubs just can't do. But unfortunately, the Houston Dynamo did promote Messi when they offered specific ticket packages to guarantee them that Inter Miami game. They did like 5 game promos and five game plans that did feature the Inter Miami game. Obviously, because obviously Messi once again was potentially you're going to see Messi on the field. Keyword potentially, not that you're guaranteed to see him. Potentially, you're going to see Messi, and once again, so people like if you're going to, and I get it that you're mad that you didn't get to see Messi, but at the end of the day, that's the reality. Now, the Houston Dynamo, on the other hand, had an opportunity to be like, hey, Messi's not on the field. This is a chance so we can win more fans. We can gain new fans by showing that we have a good field product on the field. And we're learning now Benny Ball is probably not the best. And once again, I'm not a fan of playing from the back. I have never been a fan of playing from the back. We need to send the ball. We need to push the ball up once we get that. Once we're able to get the ball back in our possession, and it was frustrating Um, the game was just frustrating in general. Having to rewatch it, already knowing what the result was going to be, wasn't easy. But I watched it because I guess I'm a man. I don't know. I don't really know if I am. I feel like I was. I feel like I was getting cucked at that point. I'm not gonna lie. I was having to sit there and watch. I was literally. It was like I was in that little hotel room with the extra chair, the cuck chair, and that's literally how I felt because I already knew what the result was, and I was just not having fun. I did not have fun enjoying that. I did not have fun watching Luis Suarez get 3 assists and a goal. Um, yeah, it was just a bad performance overall by the Dynamo, and I wouldn't be surprised if no one, I mean nobody, uses that free ticket. I would not be shocked by it. Some may, and I'll give them a high five if they do, but I get it. I get it if you don't. That game was an embarrassment. It's just they took the piss out of it, and it pisses me off now watching having to like, talk about it now. But it is the reality, man. And I don't think it was bad that the Dynamo were offering free tickets. I think that's kind of what you have to do because we know that like for people that are trying to, we're not Europe, we're not South America, we're not Latin America, but we're definitely not Europe. Like we don't have people that are just wanting to be fans because once again it goes back to people believing MLS is an inferior product. If they think MLS is an inferior product, they're gonna much rather watch something else than watch the MLS. They would much rather watch Tigres than watch an MLS game. Like it's just point proven. Whenever the Dynamo do have to host Tigres or America, any team from Liga MX, they pack the you get packed. Well, let's say a big Liga MX side like okay like Chivas de Guadalajara and all that big name, right? Um, they packed that stadium, and it's literally a home game for that team. So once again, people would much rather support those teams than watch the Dynamo, watch MLS teams. You know, like, and like people shouldn't be shocked by this because I mean, like even the days when Giovanni Dos Santos, people would come mainly just to see Giovanni Dos Santos. I don't. This isn't new. Just because yes, it's Messi. This isn't new. People have done this to go to when Thierry Henry was in the league. People would go watch it for Thierry Henry. They didn't go watch the Dynamo. They went to go watch Thierry Henry. Same, David Beckham. Same thing. No, like this isn't new. The only thing that's new is that people are that you have the Houston Dynamo and Vancouver. Vancouver also did a similar thing where they apologized to the fans for Messi not being available for the game, and then offered some sort of, I guess, for some sort of consolation for showing up anyways. And and people were like, oh, this is American sports. Like that's the reality. This is American sports because, and people that are gonna try to say no, it's not. Yes, it is. Because if that's the case, how come? And let's just to give an example, the Houston Astros, right? The Astros play, let's say the Angels. Tickets are probably like what? Let's just say for like the seats I usually end up buying, it's like $90. All right, so they're $90, right? And that's to watch them play the Angels. Now, when the Yankees come into town, that $90 ticket all of a sudden becomes $150 because it's the New York Yankees. You're talking about being able to see Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, you know that. So I don't want to hear it. It does happen in the NBA too. Oh man, NBA is such a prime example of it. So especially because once again, I used to work for the Rockets, so I saw it in person. People wouldn't go see Memphis Grizzlies. People wouldn't really come to see who's another team that was kind of mid. Memphis Grizzlies was pretty mid at that time. It's not the same John Morant team like it is now, and I don't know how they're doing right now actually. But Memphis Grizzlies, the Timberwolves. This is obviously before who they have now. I forgot the kid's name now, which I feel terrible because he's a stud. But these really mid basketball teams, tickets would be actually more affordable than normal, and then you'll go but people wouldn't go. You know where people would go? When the Lakers were in town. LeBron James, you get a chance to go see LeBron James play. People would pay, that would pack the stadium, just people going there to see the Lakers. The Warriors with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. That stadium will get packed for those guys too. You can't be saying that this is just an MLS thing. No, it's a very much an American thing. People do go to see big and interesting teams. I'm sure Kansas City Chiefs, like it's the road show for them to go see Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Like those tickets do get a little bit pricier because it is the Kansas City Chiefs because people want to go see the Kansas City Chiefs. Like maybe people don't really care too much about going to see the Tennessee Titans, but they're gonna go see the Kansas City Chiefs when they come into town. And so yes, and then saying all the people like, oh man, I'm gonna hate to see somebody in a Miami kit. People come into the Rockets. I've seen people at the Rockets games wearing, you know, Golden State Warriors gear, even though they're from Houston. I've been to Astros games where I've seen people wear Yankees gear when they're from Houston. Like, so this isn't. If you're gonna say MLS is an unserious league for doing this, it's the same thing for like the US sports in general is an unserious league then because that's literally what it is. I wish we could be at the level of Europe. I wish that we could be even at the level of Latin America. Hell, I wish we'd be at the level of El Salvador, but we're not. This league is so still young. The culture, the interest in soccer is still not there, and so as much as I would love for the day that happens, we're nowhere near it. You know, that's why people clown Americans for their, especially the Americans that do love soccer, because, you know, once again, they don't take us seriously because things like this, even though I'm sure plenty of them have gone over to gone to Camp Nou to go watch Messi play, but it's a little different over there because you're going to a Barcelona game. You're not, you know, it's a whole long story. But anyways, I'm fine with what the Dynamo did. I don't think it was stupid or anything like that. What I am kind of disappointed is people's reactions to it. And that's the people complaining about how this is unserious when in reality this is just what American sports culture is. They want to see big matchup. They want to see they'll come flock for the good teams. They'll come flock for the best. WNBA. Oh no, ooh, another great example, right? You know, the Caitlin Clark show. You know, ticket prices for an average WNBA game is nothing compared to when Caitlin Clark is in town. And then all of a sudden, tickets go up. Stadium is packed because they're trying to watch Caitlin Clark do her thing. WNBA is probably the best example of what MLS is. And you know what's funny enough is you have some people like Angel Reese that get pissed off that people are only glazing Caitlin Clark. And let's be honest, Angel Reese is probably not a great example, but still, people are also tired of the Messi glazing here in the MLS. But the reality is, that's who's bringing money to the league. Messi is bringing money to the league, just like Caitlin Clark is bringing money to the WNBA. Like, I don't like it, but that's the reality of it.
Who is that guy?